So, I've been thinking a lot about how to create this podcast and how to put my stories and thoughts out there. And the number one thing for me is always about comfort. So, from this episode onwards, for those of you who are watching me on YouTube, will see that I am in my comfortable robe. And I am inviting each of you to get into something that's just comfortable, that makes you feel calm and at ease. Grab a drink or something that just brings you to a happy place. And let's talk about something that we all experience, but let's talk about the layers that go into it. So today, I want to talk about loneliness. As always, I would love to read to you guys a page from my reflections. And I am super excited about this topic, about love in translation, the emotional lives of first-generation children. There are times in life when loneliness doesn't mean being alone. It means being unseen. You can have people in your home, a partner beside you, laughter around the dinner table, and still feel like something inside you is quietly fading. Over the past weeks, I've been sitting with that kind of loneliness. Not the kind that's solved by plans or people, but the kind that asks for deep reflection, for stillness and honesty. And that honesty started with something small. Welcome back to my rearview mirror, where I look back at the moments that have shaped me so I can relearn who I really am. It was one of those ordinary family days that just broke me a little. My kids were having a tough time. There was emotions everywhere. My youngest, who was really anxious about a game that was coming up. He was screaming and yelling. He wasn't being disrespectful. He was just nervous about something. I was trying to calm him down and understand exactly what was happening. My husband, who I love, who does so much for our family, he just couldn't meet us in that moment. He was just simply staring at our youngest straight in the eye and just shutting him down and saying whether he liked it or not, he was going to that game. In that moment, he wasn't being cruel. He was just being absent. And he didn't see that what our son needed was just understanding. I remember standing there feeling this wave of exhaustion that I've felt many times. That exhaustion of being everyone's safe place, everyone's comfort, and everyone's emotional container. We've spoken about this many times before. I've asked him, please try to connect with these kids on an emotional level and try to read between the lines. But it just keeps happening, this quiet pattern where he serves, he provides, he fixes, but he never feels with us. We got into a massive argument, and that night, we both just sat there, alone. After all the kids went to bed, we just felt empty. Not angry, we just felt hollow, like we were both done. And how are we going to move forward? And that's when I started wondering if maybe this isn't just about him or me. Maybe it's about something deeper. Something that we have both carried our whole lives. If I look through my rearview mirror, loneliness has always been right there in the passenger seat. When I was a kid, I never really fit in. I moved around a lot. I was quiet. I was shy. I was bullied a lot. I never really had many friends. I remember walking through the hallways in middle school and always feeling invisible. I just always felt like never did anybody actually look at me to see me. And at home, my parents were not strict at all, but they held me and my sister really close. They were first-generation Indian immigrants. They were trying to build safety in a country where they knew no one or nothing. All they did know is that they had a mission to keep me and my sister safe. And I think that they believed that keeping us close would protect us. There was so much love in our home, but there was also this strange, quiet fear underneath it all. Fear of what might happen if everything fell apart. Because of that, we never really faced our problems. We kind of learned to just avoid them or run away from them. So difficult conversations about emotions or disagreements, they never happened. We were so close, but that closeness often meant protection of each other, not vulnerability. We didn't talk about sadness or fear. We just kind of focused on being good and working hard, staying safe. So without realizing it, I learned that love means that you stay close, but don't stay open. It means staying together, but not necessarily learning to understand each other. Somewhere in all that, I learned how to hold it all in, how to keep feeling numb, how to be the strong one, how to keep my feelings tidy and clean. It made me super dependable. To this day, if you ask anybody what was the one quality about me that they love, it would be dependability. I'm an incredibly dependable person, but it also made me very lonely. And it also completely unprepared me for difficult or painful emotions. I think that shaped the way I started to handle emotions as I got older. I learned to always keep the peace, to make things okay, smooth over tension instead of naming it. I became really good at reading the room, or anticipating moods, or holding everyone else's feelings, but not my own. Then when I went to college, everything flipped. For the first time, I started getting attention. The kind that teenage me had longed for but never got. And that attention felt intoxicating. It felt like proof that I finally mattered. So when I started dating, I carried all those old patterns into what I thought was love. If someone pulled away, I would try harder. If someone was upset, I tried to fix it. Even when I felt uncomfortable or unseen, I stayed, because I thought love meant keeping things from falling apart. But I didn't know yet the difference between attention and love. So I naively fell into a 7-year relationship at the tender age of 18 that was incredibly emotionally abusive. The man that I thought loved me was actually incredibly controlling, incredibly manipulative, and so draining. What it taught me was that love meant walking on eggshells, that being loved required shrinking myself just enough so that I was tolerable. By the time that ended, when I was 24, I was so used to managing other people's emotions that it felt completely normal. And then, right at the end of that chapter, is when I met my husband. He was so calm and so stable and so grounded. And for the first time, somebody was putting me first. He felt so safe, and he was the complete opposite of all the chaos that I had known. We got married shortly after. We bought a house, we had kids, and for a while, I believed that I had finally built a life where loneliness couldn't reach me anymore. But loneliness has a way of finding these new shapes. Now, instead of coming from neglect, it was coming from emotional distance between me and him. I was surrounded by people that I love, and I still felt like no one truly gets me. As I started reflecting on this, I started to look at the pattern, and I began to see something clearly. My loneliness and my husband's distance, they were not opposites. They were actually mirrors. My husband grew up in Nigeria, where respect and composure mean everything. He went to boarding school at a very young age, where he was taught structure and discipline far from home. He learned independence early, And he learned that emotions were private, that showing too much could be weakness. And that makes sense because that's how he survived. But now, as a father and a husband, those same survival skills make emotional connection that much harder for him. So when our kids cry or push back, his instinct is to maintain control, to be firm, to keep order. And when I express hurt, he hears criticism or disrespect. Because that's how emotional expression was interpreted in his world. Meanwhile, I grew up trying to earn love through understanding. So when he withdraws, I lean in harder. When he goes quiet, I talk more. When he gets defensive, I explain and explain and explain until we are both depleted. It's not that either one of us is wrong. It's just that our childhoods are still talking through us to each other. And I think that's one of the hardest truths of adulthood. Our unresolved wounds, they keep trying to finish these old conversations through the people that we love the most. He is just trying to feel respected, and I was just trying to feel seen. But underneath it all, we both are just trying to feel safe. As I've sat with all of this, the childhood patterns, the marriage disconnection, the exhaustion, I've realized something that's taken me years and will probably still take me many more to fully understand. What I was trying to recreate through safety is control. When things feel uncertain, I talk more, I analyze more, I try harder, all in an effort to try to feel connected. But the truth is, no amount of trying can make someone meet you emotionally if they've never been taught how to. And it's not about blame, it's about understanding. My husband isn't unloving. He's just unpracticed, just like me. He's been conditioned to measure love by acts of service, not by being soft. And I've been conditioned to measure love by emotional closeness, not stability. So when we collide, it's not because we don't love each other. It's because we love in different languages, shaped by completely different worlds. And yet, every time this happens, I fall into that same familiar ache, the one that whispers, if you were easier to love, this wouldn't happen. But that voice, that one isn't the truth. It's history. It's the echo of that little girl who felt so invisible for so long that she's still asking if she's enough. The work now isn't to silence her. It's to sit with her and tell her, you don't have to earn love anymore. You just have to receive it, even if it comes from yourself. So what then is healing? What does it mean? So what I thought was maybe I would start by writing a letter to myself, to that little girl, and to anyone that needs to hear this. Dear me, you've spent so many years trying to keep everyone around you safe, to make sure no one feels what you once felt. Abandoned, unseen, unworthy. You became everyone's comfort, everyone's emotional compass, even when you were completely lost yourself. You were never broken. You were simply trying to survive in a world that didn't know how to meet your depth. You don't have to fix everyone's moods. You don't have to soften every moment of conflict. You don't even have to earn peace by carrying it all. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to need. You are allowed to be held. You are not the little girl waiting to be chosen anymore. You are the woman learning to choose herself gently, daily, intentionally. – Love doesn't have to rescue you to be real. It doesn't have to be cinematic to be sacred. It can be quiet. It can be soft. It can start right here in the way you talk to yourself. And every time you pause before judging yourself, you are healing. Every time you choose rest over guilt, you are healing. Every time you remind yourself that you are already enough, even when no one sees it, you are healing. With love, me. If you are listening to this and something in your chest feels familiar, that quiet ache, that feeling of being unseen in love, I want you to know that you're not alone. Many of us grew up in homes where we were so loved, but not necessarily understood. We were taught to stay safe, to keep peace, to avoid mess. So we became adults who equate harmony with worthiness, who feel guilt for wanting more than just simply being okay. But healing doesn't mean rejecting where we came from. It means seeing it clearly enough to choose differently. You can love the people who raised you and still grieve what you didn't receive. You can love your partner deeply and still want more emotional connection. Both can be true. For those of us who grew up as first-generation children, this kind of emotional loneliness can feel especially complicated. We were raised between worlds, in families that gave us safety, but not necessarily space. Our parents loved us fiercely, but their love was often wrapped in protection and silence, not words and openness. They taught us to survive, but not always how to feel. And now, as adults, we're learning to unlearn, to build an emotional fluency in a language our families never had the chance to speak. This healing isn't a rejection of them. It's the continuation of their story, the next generation learning how to feel safe and seen, because they have given us that privilege through their preservation of safety. The beautiful and the painful can coexist. Love doesn't erase longing, and gratitude doesn't cancel grief. And the moment you stop trying to be fixed and start trying to understand yourself, you begin to transform loneliness into clarity. So maybe today, ask yourself, what would it look like to hold myself the way I've always wished someone else would? Take a deep breath. Let that question stay with you. Let it move softly through you. Because maybe the point was never to find someone who completes you. Maybe the point was to finally come home to yourself. To learn that you've been whole all along. Thank you for sitting with me today as I looked back in my rearview mirror. If something in this reflection resonated with you, I hope you take a moment, maybe tonight, maybe right after this, to sit quietly with your own story, to notice the parts of you that are still waiting to be seen. Remember, healing doesn't erase loneliness. It teaches you how to sit with it and still feel safe. So until next time, thank you for sitting with me as I reflected in my rearview mirror.